Praise the Lord, everyone. I'm back again for the third time today because I am so excited to share these treasures that the Lord gave me years ago. And I want to bless you also with them. Bear with me this time because it's a bit of a long one, but trust me, it's worth it. This is by Catherine Marshall. She was a Christian writer with the Lord since, and she wrote something very good. It's called the Prayer of Relinquishment. Okay, so here goes. Like most people, when I first began active experimentation with prayer, I was full of questions such as, why are some agonizingly sincere prayers granted while others are not? I still have questions. Mysteries about prayer are always ahead of present knowledge, beckoning on to further experimentation. But one thing I do know, I learned it through hard experience. It's way of prayer that has resulted consistently in a glorious answer. Glorious because each time power beyond human reckoning has been released. This is the prayer of relinquishment. I got my first glimpse of it in the fall of 1943. I had been ill for 6 months with a lung infection, and every specialist seemed unavailable to help. Persistent prayer, using all the faith I could master, had resulted in nothing. I was still in bed full time. Have you experienced something like this, my friends? I have. So one afternoon, I read the story of a missionary who had been an invalid for 8 years. Constantly, she had prayed that God made her well, so that she might do his work. Finally, worn out with futile petition, she prayed, "All right, I give up. If you want me to be an invalid, that's your business. Anyway, I want you even more than I want healing. You decide, Lord." Well, in 2 weeks, the woman was out of bed completely healed. This made no sense, yet the story would not leave me. On the morning of September 14th, how can I ever forget the date? I came to the same point of object acceptance. I'm tired of asking, was the burden of my prayer. I'm beaten. God, you decide what you want for me. Tears flooded. I had no faith as I understood faith, expected nothing. The gift of my sick self was made with no trace of graciousness. And the result? It was as if I had touched a button that opened windows in heaven, as if some dynamo of heavenly power began flowing. Within a few hours, I had experienced the presence of the living Christ in a way that wiped away doubt and revolutionized my life. From that moment on, my recovery began. Through this incident, God was trying to teach me something important about prayer. Now listen carefully. Gradually, I saw that a demanding spirit with self-will as its rudder blocks prayers. In other words, when I pray selfishly. You know, I want this, I want that, I, self-will as the rudder. It blocks the prayers. I understood that the reason for this is that God absolutely refuses to violate our free will. That therefore, unless self-will is voluntarily given up, we have to give up our self-will. In other words, it has to be a voluntary gesture of giving up what we want. Even God cannot move to answer prayer unless we do that. Okay? In time, I understood more about this prayer of relinquishment through the experiences of others in contemporary life as through books. Jesus' prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane is a pattern for us to learn. Christ could have avoided the cross. He did not have to go to Jerusalem that last time. He could have compromised with the priests, bargained with Caiaphas. He could have capitalized on his following and appeased Judas by setting up the beginning of an earthly kingdom. Right? He could have done that. Pilate wanted to release him, all but begged him to say the right word so that he might. In the garden, Christ had plenty of time to flee, but he used his free will to leave the decision up to his Father. Must I drink this cup, O Lord? Must I drink this cup? I don't want to drink this cup, Lord. I don't want to be separated from you. But let not my will be done but yours. He relinquished his will. You see? J.B. Phillips, in his book, The Gospels, translated into modern English, brings Jesus' prayer into focus for us. Dear Father, all things are possible to you. Please let me not have to drink this cup, yet it is not what I want, but what you want. The prayer was not answered as the human Jesus wished. Okay? Yet, power has been flowing from his cross ever since. Ever since. Even when Christ was bowing to the possibility of death by crucifixion, he never forgot either the power or the presence of God. The prayer of relinquishment must not be interpreted negatively. It does not let us lie down in the dust of a godless universe and make ourselves ready just for the worst. No. Rather, it says, this is my situation at the moment. I'll face the reality of it, but I'll also accept willingly whatever a loving Father sends me. Acceptance, therefore, never slams the door on hope. Acceptance, therefore, never slams the door on hope. When we accept his will in all things, keeps the door open. Okay? It's when we refuse to accept, it's when we fight against God, the door closes. Remember that. Yet, even with hope, our relinquishment must be the real thing, because this giving up of self-will is the hardest thing we human beings are ever called to do. That's why Jesus said, you must die to yourself. You must deny your self-will. You must pick up your cross and follow me. Stop following yourself. But it is the hardest thing to do. I remember the agony of Sarah. Now she tells the story of this young girl. She shared with me her doubts about her engagement. I love Jeb, she said, but he drinks. Not that he's an alcoholic, yet the drinking is a sort of symbol of a lot of things he has. This has bothered me so much that I wonder if God is trying to tell me to give him up. As we talked, Sarah came to the conclusion that she would lose something precious if she didn't follow the highest and the best that she knew. Tears glistened in her eyes as she said, I'm going to break the engagement. If God wants me to marry Jeb, he will see that things change about the drinking and all. Right then, simply and poignantly, she told God of her decision. She was putting her broken dreams and her future into God's hands. Jeb's ideas and ideals didn't change, so Sarah did not marry him. But a year later, she wrote me an ecstatic letter. It nearly killed me to give up Jeb, yet God knew that he wasn't the right one for me. Now I met the right man, and we're being married soon. Now I really have something to say about trusting God. Isn't that a beautiful story? It's good to remember that not even the master shepherd can lead if the sheep have not this trust in him. They trust him completely. That's the way of Christ's insistence on practical obedience. And why call ye me, Lord, Lord, and do not the things which I say? Luke 6:46. You know, it's like Jesus gave us the instructions on how to do things. Right? By the book. By the book. It's all in here. He gave us all the instructions we have to follow to have a godly life. But then he says, why you call me Lord, Lord, and you come crying to me and seek my help when you don't do what I told you to do? Blame yourself. It's your own fault things are not going the way they're supposed to go because you don't obey me. It's as simple as that. You want to know why things are not going right in your life? Look closely. Are you obeying Jesus in every area of your life? Or are you still trying to control certain things? Then, don't be surprised that your life is in chaos. So we must be complete with him from our wills, right, and through to our actions. Totally devoted in our will and in our actions. When we come right down to it, how can we make obedience real? Except as we give over our self-will in reference to each of life's episodes as it unfolds. That's why it shouldn't surprise us that all the heart of the secret of answered prayers lies in the law of relinquishment. Another story. Mrs. Nathaniel Hawthorne, wife of the famous American author, found as she wrestled in prayer in the city of Rome one day in 1860. Una, the Hawthorne's oldest daughter, had a violent form of malaria. The attending physician said that afternoon that unless the young girl's fever abated before morning, she would die. As Mrs. Hawthorne sat by Una's bed, her thoughts went to what her husband had said earlier that day. I cannot endure the alternations of hope and fear. Therefore, I have settled with myself not to hope at all. But the mother would not share her husband's hopelessness. Una must not die. This daughter had the finest mind, the most complex character of all the Hawthorne children. Why should some capricious providence demand that they give her up? As the night deepened, the girl lay so still that she seemed to be in the center room of death. The mother looked out the window onto the piazza. Not pizza, piazza. Don't forget they were in Italy. A dark and silent sky was heavy with clouds, and she said, I cannot bear this loss. Cannot. Then suddenly, unacquaintably, another thought took over. Why should I doubt the goodness of God? Let him take her if he sees best. Let him take her if he sees best. I can give her to him. I won't fight. No, Lord, I will not fight against you. If you want to take her, so be it. Take my Una. Having made the great sacrifice, Mrs. Hawthorne expected to feel sadder. But instead, she felt lighter, happier than at any time since Una's long illness had begun. Some minutes later, she walked back to the girl's bedside, felt her daughter's forehead. It was moist and cool. Una was sleeping naturally. And the mother rushed into the next room to tell her husband that a miracle had happened. Now, the intriguing question is, what is the spiritual law implicit in this prayer of relinquishment? Fear is like a screen erected between us and God, so that his power cannot get through to us. So, how does one get rid of fear? This is not easy when we want most is involved. At such times, every emotion, every passion is tied up in the dread that what we fear is about to come upon us. Obviously, only drastic measures can deal with such a gigantic fear and the demanding spirit that usually goes along with it. Trying to deal with it by repeating faith affirmation is not drastic enough. So then, we are squarely up against the law of relinquishment. Was Jesus showering us sorry, was Jesus showing us how to use this law when he said, do not resist evil. Matthew 5:39. In other words, when you're dealing with an evil person like he did, turn your other cheek. Don't resist evil. In God's eyes, fear is evil because it's an acting out of lack of trust in him. Remember that. Every time you fear, you're saying, I don't trust you, Lord. Put that fear away, because God did not give you a spirit of fear. Jesus is saying, admit the possibility of what you fear most. Force yourself to walk up to fear. Look it full in the face, never forgetting that God and his power are still the supreme reality, and the fear will evaporate. Drastic? Yes, but it is one sure way of releasing prayer power into human affairs. And I want to end by saying here, this is her conclusion here. If your every human plan and calculation has miscarried, if one by one human props have been knocked out and doors have shut in your face, take heart. God is trying to get a message through to you. And the message is, stop depending on inadequate human resources. Let me handle the matter. I relinquish everything to you, Lord. Total surrender. I relinquish all of my desires. If it is your will, it will happen. If it's not your will, I accept. Again, this was by Catherine Marshall. I hope it blessed you, because it sure blessed me. See you again with another inspirational story. God bless you.